During a high school class project, my teacher told me it's unrealistic being a CEO. It's been my dream to be a CEO since I was 10. So I told her, it is realistic. Follow me on my journey to learn what it takes to become a CEO. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Realistic CEO podcast. Today I'm here with Kasey Anton. How are you doing today, Kasey?
I am fantastic. How are you?
I'm great. I just want to thank you for your flexibility. We had to reschedule, and then we were supposed to do in person, now we're on Zoom. So I just want to thank you for your flexibility.
No problem.
Yeah. So for my first question is, can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah. In my former life, I was a restaurateur. So I used to own and operate restaurants in Boston, but I got out of that in 2006. That was the year I had my first son. I had just been married and needed it. I sold my restaurants and needed to get out of the industry because very late nights, long hours, etc. So I took a inventory of what skills that I had managed just being in restaurants for so long to see what would translate over into another career type. And as it turned out, I got really good at the numbers. I got really good at reading financials, at creating financials, at QuickBooks. That's the software, the accounting software we use, because I had to in order to keep my restaurants afloat long enough to be able to sell them versus having to close them or, God forbid, file for bankruptcy. So I got really good at numbers and cash flow. So I figured, oh, maybe some other small businesses could use this type of service. I started connecting with some chefs that were opening restaurants at the time because that was really my world, was the restaurant world. And sure enough, they're like, yeah, come in, and I do a little bookkeeping for them. And then I'm like, okay, this is easy enough. I work part-time. I'll go into the city. I'll do some bookkeeping, no big deal. But then I realized I had a lot more ambition and drive than that. And they started referring me out. Like one had a girlfriend that was an interior designer, and he's, hey, can you go help my girlfriend? She sucks at money. She's terrible at it. Like she doesn't know what she's doing. She's creative brain, just not the other brain. I'm like, dude, I don't know anything about interior design, but I'll talk to her. Went and met with her, and I was like, oh, like 2 + 2 = 4 here. Math is the same. Yeah, I could help her. I could do this. And then she referred me to a general contractor who was never paying his guys on time, who was also like a big financial mess. And I'm like, all right, I don't know anything about construction, but I'll talk to him. Met with him again, same math, same thing applied, helped him. And from there, it just spiraled. And we grew really fast, almost 100% year over year until now. So fast forward, it's been about 16 years since I've had Spark. We have over 250 clients now. I have 10 full-time employees, 2 part-time employees, and we're just growing. Not as fast as we are, but that's because we slowed down and now we don't take everyone. We work in certain verticals right now because we really want to be specialty with the clients that we work with. So we work mostly with restaurants, of course, is probably our biggest division, contractors, designers, screen printers, bridal, law firms, and a few others.
Was this when you first got into this industry, was this your thought process, or did you think your business would grow this as fast as it did?
I knew when it was going to, and it was after I got my first couple of clients through word of mouth. I'm thinking, oh, like this is fun. And I'm just ambitious, that type of person. And I had some daycare coverage. I'm like, let me go see what else I can do. And I joined this networking group. It's called BNI, for Business Networking International. So I joined a group down in Kingston. It was at the time, so this was like 2007, 2008. It was a big group. It was like 60 members, 1 seat per profession, right? So you go to this group and everyone gets 60 seconds to stand up and tell about their business. So I was just there as a guest, my first time. I stood up and I just said what I did. And I think it was the way and how I spoke about what we do. It wasn't very stodgy. It wasn't about spreadsheets. It wasn't just about financials. It was about meeting business owners where they are and helping them understand the story the numbers are telling them. And I'm not even kidding. At that end of that meeting, there was at least 6 people lined up, hands up, lined up behind me going, I need to talk. I need that. And I need to talk to you about that. And it was that moment I went, oh, I am on to something here. People really do need this. I didn't know until that moment that most businesses are just like operating because the owner is good what they make or sell or do or whatever, but they're not necessarily good at the financial end, which is hugely important. So they really needed it. And they needed it in the way that I think that we deliver it, which is we roll up our sleeves and we get in the trenches with them and we really help them understand the story that's being told and how to help them guide their business to be the vision that they created in the first place or they wanted to create. So I think that's why we grow. So we've never advertised. I've done some networking groups, but other than that, every single client we have is from word of mouth or referral. Yeah.
So you said that most of the businesses that you worked with, they're great at their product, but they're not good with their numbers. So how are they able to become successful? Like, how was that? How are they successful businesses?
Yeah, great question. Two ways. One, pure luck. And I
Mhm.
honestly, that is less than 5%, maybe less than 3% of all businesses just created or did something that opened up the floodgates and people fall all over themselves to give them money. And then they don't really have to worry about it because there's just so much money to go around. We have a client, we have a couple clients that way. It's very rare and it's unbelievable. The other 97, 98% of them have debt. That's how they do it. They have debt. They don't know they live off of bank balance accounting, meaning that all they do every day or a couple of times a week, they log in, they look at their bank balance, and they make decisions, which is the worst thing you could do. So they make decisions, right? And they end up spending the money in the bank balance, and then, oh my God, I need to go buy this or have this or make payroll. What do I do? Oh, this guy's willing to lend me money, or this bank or this third party, whatever. Oh, okay. And then they put debt into the bank and then they spend all that. Oh, what do I do? And they go look for more debt. And it's just, that's what happens. So it's either debt or luck.
Mm.
Pretty much it.
So for you, starting this business venture, when you like you talked about you're in the restaurant industry, when you were in that industry, did you really expect to be to where you are today, or do you think that was going to be your career?
Oh yeah, I thought that was gonna be my career. I have loved hospitality since I was 5 years old. So no, I thought that was it. I thought I would have a chain or 20, 25 restaurants by now. That's what I thought when I was in my teens and 20s and working in all these types of restaurants. That's what I knew. It's what I loved. It brought me joy every single day. So that was it. It was just realizing the toll that industry can really take on you. And then to try and add a family to that, there's no way I could be present for both. So then I had to pivot, but I didn't see that coming. I just had to do it.
So for you, what was it about that? Like you talked about, thought you were going to own 25 chains. What was
Mhm.
about that industry that you really enjoyed the most?
About the restaurant world,
Yeah.
I like to experience joy, and that's just what that is. How do I put that? Experiencing joy for me is my purpose, right? As I got older and I did a lot of like professional and personal development, and you really what you do during a lot of these courses and books and whatever I read is about finding out what your purpose is, like why you're here on earth, let's say. And so for me it really came down to not only to experiencing joy but really to provide that to others, because that is where my joy comes from. A way to do that, and there's lots of ways to do that of course, but a way to do that is through celebration. And where do you see a lot of celebration? I guess it could be a wedding planner, things like that, but for me it was through meal, it was through food, it was through family and connection. So it's just, I still love it to this day. It just doesn't fit into my life the way I would want it to, but I just love being around celebration. I honestly feel like almost every single time someone is going into a restaurant, they're there to celebrate something, or there's a moment that can be celebrated in that. And I just want to be around that and I want to help create that.
So what are some takeaways that you learned from owning and being inside of that industry to where you are today, where you're helping business with their finances?
Yeah, so everything. I think I am the perfect person to be able to do what I do today, because the restaurant industry, it is known to be an industry of nickels and dimes. I would actually argue and know for a fact through experience that it's really an industry of pennies. Very slim margins. It is not easy to make a dollar in the industry. You really have to scratch and claw and work your ass off to make any money. So it's if you don't have a passion for this business, it is the wrong one to be in. Like you really have to have this huge passion for hospitality. And then if you really want to make it work, you got to figure out a way to make money at it. So a lot of it comes one to your business model, whatever it is you're selling. What's the cost of that? What are the other expenses? At the end of the day, how much are you going to make? You got to make something or it's not going to work, or you're going to incur debt, which is terrible. So I had to do that. My restaurant, I got to see both ends of that stick, right? So when we first opened the first few years, we were often named one of the number one restaurants in Boston from all over, from Wine Spectator, Boston Magazine. We were in People Magazine at one time. Like we were like rock stars. And we used to fly to New York all the time and check out what was happening on the Manhattan restaurant scene. And we just spent all our money. We didn't even think about money. We didn't have to because the place was packed every night. Money was flowing in. It was great. And then what for us, what happened is after September 11th, because we were open then. So after September 11th, the world shut down for a few days. And then it slowly started to open up after that. But it took a long time for things to somewhat come back to normal. So our restaurant was never the same. And at very early on, I had to learn how to take every dollar that came in and try and hold on to as much of it as I could before I had to go back out in some form of expense. So I really learned using real money in a real world with a real business, how cash flow actually works. So not on a spreadsheet, not in a classroom. I learned it every single day. So you learn how to be really innovative, efficient, create systems. Like I had to learn that in order to survive. So that's how I learned it. And taking all of that was so easy to translate it into another industry and another business because none are like the restaurant industry. Like a restaurant industry, the P&L is going to be 3, 4, 5, 6 pages long. I could go to a service business and it's a page, 1 or 2 pages long for most other businesses. It's just a completely different animal. But I feel like I had all the tools. I had a huge toolkit to be able to use to go help and diagnose all these other businesses. So I think that's why I became really successful at what I do now.
So for you talked about how you thought you're gonna be in the restaurant industry for the rest of your life, and now
Mhm.
you're kind of helping other businesses become successful. So throughout you owning your own business and also helping other businesses, what are some of the biggest things that you learned and noticed between your business and other businesses and how to become successful?
Oh God, that's a great question. That is a great question. There are so many things. I would say the first thing for me when it comes to comparing my business anyway to others is my business model is very dialed in. Meaning, for example, whenever I hire someone to come work for me, I know where my revenue has to go and the time frame I have to get that revenue in to pay for this person. That's just one example. That's probably like the biggest piece though. So that's part of my model. Oh, if I'm going to hire someone, my revenue needs to go here and I have to do it within 3 months or whatever it is. That just means that I might have less of a profit, maybe even a loss for this time frame, but I know on this date, 3, 4 months from now, it's going to change over and this is where the profitability and all that's built in versus and that's what I know, and that's one piece, and I could say that about any expense that I incur in my business. I know exactly the offset to revenue and profit. I just know that probably based on what I do, and I'm not expecting everyone to know that, but for the big pieces, I notice other people just hire someone in because I think I need someone, or I'm too busy, or without a plan in place. Okay, you're going to hire this person, you're going to pay them this. What else has to happen to make this make sense for your business? Otherwise, that salary, that money that you're paying this person, it's coming from somewhere. So it's odd that I can't get people always to understand that, but it's not like free money. You didn't go pick it up off the side of the road. You have to pay this person. If you weren't profitable in the first place, now you bring on this person and you don't have a plan of how this person is going to produce and bring in money. How did you expect to pay for them? That's probably the biggest one that I get because that's the most expensive and people just spiral downhill because I think what happens is they hired this person, they feel bad, they don't want to let them go if they can't afford it. Then they start to incur debt, then they stop taking their own paycheck, then they put their head in the sand, and then it's just a spiral downward. So if you really can lock into your business model for your business and know these big pieces and how they move and all the reactions that come of them, you can set yourself up to be in a much better place for growth. So that's huge for me, is really understanding those pieces and how they work.
Talked about how a lot of the times these businesses don't really understand the importance of finance. So why is your knowing your financials, your P&L, all that, why is that important?
Your financials are the foundation of your business. They're 100% the foundation of your business. So whether you like financials and numbers, you don't, you hate them, you want nothing to do with them, that's great. I love when people hate it because that's more work. That's why we're here. It's more work for us. So I don't mind. And the other thing is for business owners, they don't have to become an accountant or a bookkeeper or an expert in any way. We're not here trying to teach them about QuickBooks and about balance sheets and P&Ls. That's you. Yeah. Your time is better spent doing whatever it is that you do. I get that, but you should be working with somebody that does know it, and then let them just present to you what's going on with the story the number is saying. So that's the most important piece, because your entire business, whether you like it or not, is built on your financials. If your business isn't set up to be profitable, it will not survive. It'll fail. And how badly it'll fail will really depend on how much debt you incur. And the amount of debt that you're going to incur is based off how long you keep your head in the sand about your financials. So for an example, this is in my book, we have an example of a burger shack, but in the example of the book, this burger shack, that guy had so much debt, but he was basically selling burgers for, I think, $6 or $7. He was in the Midwest. And when we were done figuring out his financials, that burger cost him like $5. He was selling them for 6 or 7, and that's just the cost of the burger, let alone the payroll, the rent, the utilities, the dues and subscriptions, the insurances. Like, his business model was broken. So every time he sold a burger, he was losing money, therefore incurring more debt. And it was happening over and over again. He had no idea. And I think that's what happens when business owners don't understand their financials to an extent, right? Is because they're just putting money in the bank, spending what they can. Oh, there's not enough. Let me go find some money in the form of debt or maybe more sales, put it in, spend it again. And it's a cycle of death. So without understanding that your business is set up to be profitable, which is a requirement to survive, your business is not only not going to survive, but you're going to put yourself personally, not just for the business, personally, in a lot of debt. And there's just no reason for it. So we like to get in there and help people before that gets out of whack. With the burger story in the book, by the time he came to us and then we figured it all out, he was already over $500,000, almost $650,000 in debt. And based on our financials, there was no way he was going to get out of that debt. So he actually did have to end up filing bankruptcy for that. But had he not, he could have been $1 million more in debt before he got to us. So it's so important to understand your financials in a business.
So, what are like the biggest differences between the businesses that come to you that kind of already are understanding their financials and just need a little bit more extra help versus the businesses that just are completely struggling and don't understand at all?
Oh, another good question. So this one is interesting because I'd say the clients that come to us, they either have a basic understanding or think that they have a basic understanding. I don't think they listen to us as much as the ones that come to us with, I have no idea what's happening here. I just need you to do it. Can you just figure this out? I'm a mess. I've been hiding. And I feel like those are open and ready and right for us to come in there and be like, listen, we got this. Here's what we need to do. And meet them where they are and talk to them about what's going on and a couple of quick changes we can usually make, and then slowly eat away and get them to a point where we're now profitable and things are moving and grooving. And that's what we need to do. But I feel like the ones that come that are doing okay, and they come to us and they have a grasp and they're doing okay. When I say you're doing okay, you are. You could be doing so much better if we just tweak this and this. And they're like, okay, but they don't usually do it. That part's always interesting to me. I don't know, and actually I don't even have the answer to that. I don't know why. When I simply say a couple of tweaks here, you could probably make another 300 grand this year. And they're just like, nope. Or they don't even say no. They're like, that's a great idea, but they just don't even do it. People with money, man, that's a weird thing. It's very different. People are very weird about money.
So, for you, what are some of the biggest things you've learned throughout your career so far with helping these other businesses? How was that able to help improve your business model?
I find that probably the best thing, the number one thing that I've probably learned is we don't sugarcoat anything. I think that's big. So we're tough love over here. We definitely can get in your face a little bit, not in an aggressive, like torturous way, but our whole vision is to help entrepreneurs create the business of their dreams. So that's what we're trying to do. And if I feel like they're standing in their own way or standing in our way of doing it, we're going to get right in there with them, get on a call, get on a Zoom, meet them in person and be like, dude, knock it off. What is going on? You're going to be back. We like, so I feel like the no sugarcoat, the tough love, but we're always coming from the right place because we genuinely care. Like we genuinely care. We're basically business partners to our clients as if we're in the weeds with them. So I think that is very different from how a lot of other firms like ours, bookkeeping, accounting firms, where they might just, here's your financials, bye. Like they don't really have a lot of skin in the game. And I feel like we have all the skin in the game with them because this is our drive, is to see them succeed. So I think a lot of it, as a matter of fact, I'd say in some of the testimonials that I've gotten from clients over the years, and when I say why Spark, why are you work with us? They'll say, oh, it's because you're no bullshit. They're like, you just say it how it is, and you really woke us up and you completely changed our lives. And that's like the number one compliment and the one that we get probably the most often.
So why is it that when you being direct is directing straight to the point better for these businesses when they're like, oh wow, I really like the way that you're just straight up honest with me rather than somebody trying to sugarcoat or say whatever it is to make them feel better. Why do you think that business model works better when you're working with businesses?
Because I think it evokes action. It evokes change. It makes them sit up and listen. Because I guess the other way to look at that is we could just be like Susie Nice Guy and just be like, oh, good job. Yay. Bye. And do not, and just make them feel good about themselves, blow a lot of smoke, and then they're going to continue to go do whatever it is they're doing, which obviously is not going to be getting them where they want to go. That's usually why they come to us. So I think that by just flipping that script and just being, hey, we're going to be super upfront in your face about this because we're here to help you. I think it makes them sit up, it makes them listen, and they are thinking, okay, I don't think she wants to be a witch. So maybe I should listen. Maybe I should do this thing she's telling me to do. And then I get them to go do it, whether they're scared of me. Sometimes I get that, but they'll go do it and they'll go, oh my God, that actually worked. So what else you got? Okay, now let's work on this. How about you do this? And they'll do that. Yep, that worked too. And now, once I can prove to them in a way of, I know what I'm talking about, otherwise I wouldn't be talking. Like, I know what I'm talking about, do these things, and they go do them and they see the results, then it's like game over. They're like, this is exactly what I needed. And either they can move on and beyond us, and because they grow so huge and now they're a $20 million company, they're out of our range, or they just stay with us, they refer us out. It's just, I'd say that's like the secret sauce for us, is just being very real and meeting them where they are. Yeah.
Do you have any business that's like your favorite success story of them coming to you struggling and then they end up becoming successful?
Yeah, I got a lot of those, which is really nice. A lot of them. The most recent one, actually, and this is a production company. They're in Chicago. And I've been consulting with them for a couple of years. And what's interesting is he first came to me probably about 4 or 5 years ago. So we started working together and he wasn't listening to me. He wasn't doing what I said. And then he started ghosting me. And at that point, I was like, all right, I think we're done. When you're ready, I'm here. You're not doing anything. So here you go. So then he's okay, sounds good. Left, kept doing what he was doing, got himself in worse trouble. I'm talking about with like credit cards so maxed out, he couldn't even make the minimums, basically, just like IRS after him for payroll, like all the bad things all happening. Comes back around to me 6 months later. He's okay, I'm ready to listen to you now. So I'm like, okay, here's what we're gonna do. And we dove in and we were talking almost weekly at first, and I really just completely changed this company around where now they're doing over $6 million a year. Profitability is almost 20%, paid off almost all of the debt. I think there's a very little debt left. Like it is a transformation that we did in about 18 months with this company. And I was on the call with them the other day because it's partners, and they were saying to me, and I asked if I could record it, but I don't think I did. But they were saying to me, "You completely changed our lives. I never would have thought this could happen. Like we screamed from the rooftops, you're the best thing." It was just like the most amazing, heartfelt thing I've ever heard. But it's just that. It's just sometimes getting an owner to remove the emotions around the money, look at it as just a system or a model, the model that has to be set to be profitable. And let's figure out how we work within this model so it spits out profit. and do that over and over again. And as soon as I can get them on board with that, magic happens, things change. And then they're like, I can't believe where were you 15 years ago? So most of my stories are that way, is like getting them on board slowly at first, and then they start to see change. Okay, let's go. And then they're like, yeah, game on, and let's do it.
So what are some common themes that you notice with the businesses that end up becoming successful working with you versus the businesses that fall out the system and don't really take your advice, whatever it is?
Yeah, that's exactly it. The ones that actually listen to what we're saying, and if they don't understand it or don't know how to do it, if we say, hey, your labor cost is way too high. And this is actually a really good example. This is a restaurant. It's local here to just outside Boston. And we started working with them only a couple months now. And we're like, listen, your labor's too high. You can't run a labor at this. You're never gonna make my labor at this. And he's like, yeah, I'm working on it, blah, blah, blah. Hey, how did March look? Terrible. Wait, what? He didn't get it. So basically, it was very simple. It was like, okay, you're running a 58% labor cost. No business that I know of can make money at that. You need to be closer to 30. So if your sales, we looked at his like history of sales. Okay, so let's say that your sales average around $90,000 a month, right? I'm like, is that fair to say? He'll like, yeah, we're there. Okay, at $90,000 a month, here's your budget for payroll. It's let's say 30,000 for the month. That's what you have. So now go write a schedule that basically fits to $30,000 because you're running 58,000 or whatever it is, and you can't make money at that. That's why you have so much debt. Let's do this. And it was just me showing him a simple number. This is what you need to be. Here's your budget. How you're going to get to 30%, I can't go in and fire people for you, but yeah, that's probably going to end up happening. So with this client, especially, normally with a client with that, they'll just be like, I need everybody. I can't let anybody go. Okay, your business is broken then. So if you're okay knowing that you're going to be buried in debt, then that's okay. That's on you. And that's what you want to do. That's your choice, but it doesn't work. It's broken. So I'm telling you how to fix it, and you can either do it or not do it. So it's usually a moment, I don't always know when it happens with the business owner, but usually it's some type of very simple visual or just a certain way that I say something. Then it's a switch goes off. They go, oh my God, I get it now. And that's what happened the other week with this restaurant owner when I just showed him a very simple, here's your sales, here's your payroll now. That's why it's at this percent. Here's your sales. If you were running realistically, this is what it should be at. Go build your payroll off of this amount. And he's, oh my God, that makes perfect sense. And then he went and that's what he's working on doing, which is going to end up meaning he's going to make some really tough decisions. So I'd say to the other part of your question, the ones that don't take the advice or don't do it, it's because it's going to probably require some difficult things. And no, in this example, he's probably going to have to let his general manager go, and she's probably someone that runs the whole show, so he doesn't have to. And I get it, and that's not ideal. I don't ever want to say, hey, give up your GM so you can go work 90 hours a week. I don't ever want to have to say that. But for this model, there was no, unless you can get someone to work for free, there was no other way to do this unless you eliminate all your kitchen. But then what are you selling? So it was just that. So I think people who are like, okay, that sucks, but you're right, I have to do it. It's the numbers, and they go do it, then that's amazing. And then we have something to work with. The ones who are like, nope, nope, I'm not doing it. I can't do it. I can't really help them then.
So when you're getting clients, what are you seeing like the similar struggles? Are there similarities between like the business when it comes to their financial struggles?
Yeah, I would say like 99% of them have cash flow issues. So it's just there's never enough cash for them to pay all their bills. So they're always living like deposit to deposit, paycheck to paycheck, whatever it is. There's never that cushion, a balance, anything like that. And they can't figure out why. Because here's what happens is that most small business owners, as soon as they run out of money, their first thought is, oh, I need to go get more sales. And then they work their tail off to go bring in more sales. And the sales come in. If they're successful, they usually are. And then that money comes in and they go spend it all again. And they go, oh my God, I need to go. And the problem with that is like a dog chasing its tail. It's like you didn't actually fix any problem. You went and got more sales, but with more sales comes more expenses. So you're just keep perpetuating this problem. Now you got bigger problems because you got bigger sales and bigger expenses. So that's the number one issue, is that the way they're trying to fix the problem is always by more sales. And that's usually, not always, but usually the last thing I want them to do. The last thing most businesses need is more sales. They need to fix the model. They need to fix the expenses. They need to strip away all the bloat. So any personal stuff running through there, paying people too high salaries the business can't afford, etc. That's where we need to work on, is what's going on. So one visual that I like to give to some business owners that recognize it is, whenever you start any business of any kind, most people think it's them and their business, like they're cocooned into one, but it's not. They're completely separate entities. There's your business, which should be thought of its own person, and then there's you, the owner, but they're completely separate. And the business is usually like an infant. And so you really want to help nurture it, and you want to help it grow to be this beautiful, responsible adolescent and then adult or whatever. And you can't do that if you're beating it down with bloated expenses, things that don't belong to it, too high salaries that it just can't afford. And you're beating this child into the ground. And then you're wondering why it's not performing for you. And then you end up resenting it and hating it. It's a horrible thing. So if you take that away and you realize, listen, this needs to be a lean, mean money-making machine. This infant, this child of yours, this business, we need to figure out how to make the most money with the least amount of expense and still service who you want to service in the way you want to service them. That's the key there. So how do we do that? And then you separately, you can have your own little world and your own taxes, your own house, whatever, and that's fine, but that's over here. As soon as we start combining those two is when all, the wheels come off the wagon and all hell breaks loose.
Wow, you caught me off guard when you said like they're coming and thinking they're, in order to fix your cash flow problems or whatever it is, you need to go make more money. But the issue was you need to figure out a way to lower your expenses. So
Exactly.
yeah, I was thinking, oh, the cash flow problems, oh, they just need to go make more money. Then you said no, they have to make sure that their expenses are lower so that they can, their cash flow makes more sense coming in instead of having to just put it all back into their expenses. So why is it that
Mhm.
when you're making, like you said you make, when you're making more, you have higher expenses, so it doesn't even really make sense. And
Yeah.
you talked about how sometimes you have to fire or whatever it is. But what is it like? Why is it that sometimes you see people with crazy high expenses even though they're making money?
Why do they have crazy high expenses?
Yeah.
I think it's a mentality, honestly. I think it's, if they go out and say, I just need to bring in more sales, and they're successful at it, the very next thought is, now I need people to service all these new sales I brought in. So now they're going to go out of their way to hire people, to pay people, and that's an expense most people don't realize already. Not only the training, the actual hiring, then the taxes involved, the insurance. There's a lot of more that goes in than, hey, I'm going to hire you for 20 bucks an hour or whatever. A lot more goes into that. Most people don't see that. I would say, if you think you're going to pay someone 20, just call it 30, because that's probably it's going to end up being all day long. And then, as I said earlier in our conversation, then you need to make sure that you offset that with revenue. But what happens is, even though someone goes out and they're able to secure a bunch more revenue, they're going to hire maybe one, two, three more people, but the revenue is this, but now they just hired this many people. And that could just be in labor. It could also be in, now I'm going to go buy this new software that's $900 a month, or now I'll look at all these sales, I'm going to go buy this new car. There's always something, because I feel like with business owners, as soon as they see, hey, I just landed a great new client or the sales are going up, they're immediately already spending that money before they even realize it. So that's why I never ever recommend until the very last possible minute that someone go out and get more sales. It's never that. It's, let's streamline the model. Let's know what the model is and how it's going to be profitable first before I allow you to go out and get sales. Now, there is a point, it's very rare that I see this, but we have a very few clients right now who we have streamlined their model so much that it is very efficient. It's lean and mean, but he just doesn't have the sales. But it takes usually a while to get there. It's unusual, but we're there with that, where I'm like, okay, there's literally nothing else we can cut. We've created a system for everything. We've cut out everything that you possibly can live without. And it's amazing how much we shrunk this guy. We look at it year over year, and literally just a few years ago, he was running at $100,000 a month in overhead. And then we got to 90. And this year we're at like $20,000 a month for the same, if less sales. That's how we got it. We got it so low. And now it's just a matter of now he does need to go get sales and then run them through the system we created that's profitable. But yeah, he needs to get his sales up. But it's so rare to get to that point. Normally, it's everyone's just got too much bloat going on.
Knowing what you know now and helping other businesses with their finances, what would you have done different with owning your own restaurant?
Oh, I would have done so many things differently. As a matter of fact, at the very end, the last year, I'd say, I had two partners at the time, and we were all on very different journeys in our life, I'd like to say. And they were still of this mindset, of this rock star mindset that we had years ago when we were like rock stars, right? And they were still spending money. Chef was changing the menu all the time, which is costly. They're buying expensive things for the blah blah blah. And I was already like, no, like we can't afford that. Yeah, I know we just had a $25,000 Saturday night. That's great, but that's paying for the last month when we didn't have any sales. Like, no. So it was because I was the one in front of the numbers and understanding it, I couldn't get them to understand it. So one, it's hard to have business partners, number one, and God knows I love them to pieces, but I've never actually seen a business partnership work out. I will say that, number one. I know it's a terrible thing to say, and I actually was speaking at a conference in Boston a couple of weeks ago, and I said that out loud, and, no, and most of them were partners. I didn't even realize it. I just never see it work out. It's very hard because two people to have that same mindset when it comes to any part of your business, let alone the money part, and have that all the way through is very different. It's difficult to have. So one, partnerships are tough, but if you have one, you need to have a very tight agreement with who's going to make the financial decisions and have a cash management system in place where it's black and white. There's no emotions. There's no a need to have versus a must to have versus a want to have. Like it's just black and white. Here's the dollar. Here's how we're going to spread it out. So there's that. That's the biggest piece. And then literally after the partnership part, it would just be to make sure that you're using a cash management system like Profit First, which is what I wrote about, which is widely used now, so that you give every single dollar a job, because that will create the business model for you. It puts guardrails up around your money and ensures that you're not overspending, that you're staying within the line so that you can have profit, because a business needs profit to survive.
What is some advice that you would give to a young entrepreneur starting their own business?
Young entrepreneur, how young?
Let's say right out of college, around there. Yeah.
Okay, yep. That's interesting. I taught at BU last semester. I was teaching accounting in their hospitality school, and these were all juniors and seniors. So they were getting ready to graduate, a lot of them. And of course, we did a business model project. They all had to create their own small business. And a couple of them were spot on. It was like I would have invested in their businesses if they were real. They were great. But overall, more than half just were unrealistic. They were unrealistic because they just picked a number for their revenue, for the sales out of thin air, and said, I'm going to open this clothing store on Newberry Street and we're going to do $300,000 a month in revenue. And here are my expenses, and I'm going to print money, basically. And I was like, okay, where are we coming up with the 300,000? I don't know. That's what I thought I was going to do. Something like that. I'm like, okay. So if you're a new business and you're going to open anything like that, you need to be as realistic as you possibly can. So in that example, for those girls that were writing that, I said, all right, what's another clothing store similar to the one you want to open? Oh, there's this one, this one. Okay, I want you to go sit out in front of that store at different hours throughout the day, take a week, and I want you to count how many people walk in. And I want you to try and gauge what they're buying as best you can without spying, but are they walking out with bags? How big is it? All right, they spent $80, they spent 40, and figure out a financial model based on that. It won't be exact and it won't be perfect, but it'll be something, and it'll certainly be more accurate than, I think 300,000 sounds good. So I would say that for any type of retail, restaurant, quick service, whatever it is, when it comes to that, just be really as real as you can by following another business similar, figure out what their sales are to the best of your ability, and then base everything else off of that. So it's really, I think, first time business owners have rose colored glasses and feel like they're going to open up their doors and the floodgates are going to open and they're going to be gazillionaires. And that's not never, but 99.9% of the time, that is not the case. You have to scratch and claw your way to get some revenue. And you should know that out of the gate and have a plan on how you're going to do that. But don't just assume that it's going to be a lottery winning type opening, because you just don't see that.
Thank you for that advice, because I'm just starting up my business. It hasn't even been a year yet of mine, so that definitely helped me out a lot. So thank you for that. I just have a couple
Yeah.
more questions for
All
you.
right.
And so in my book, A Realistic CEO, Tony, he talks about the LBW, the long, lonely, boring work. So can
Yeah,
you tell
no.
about the LBW inside of your career?
When I saw that in your book, I'm like, what are they referring to? What's the boring work? Yeah, that was so interesting to me. Yeah, the long, lonely, boring work. I'm assuming that you're referring to all of the things that have to happen in the background to make the business go, right?
Yeah.
I would say, first off, maybe have a reframe around that, because to me, that
Mhm.
stuff's not boring to me. That's the kindling to the fire. That's what's going to make everything go. And so to me, it's not boring. To me, some things are boring. Let me say that. And having to pick insurance, ugh, no, thank you. With my 401k, people drive me nuts. Like that to me is boring, but necessary. Here's what I do. I always look for the simplest solution to everything. And when you're a business owner, you do have a lot more clout than you might think you do. So when, there's a billion insurance brokers out there, they all want to sell me their products, right? So I'll just say to them, listen, you got basically 10 seconds to explain this to me like I'm 6 years old. That's how I want to understand this. And I do say that exactly that way. My brain doesn't want to think too hard. This is your job. You got 10 seconds. Tell me what it is, or just send me your quotes. That's all I care about. So I make sure that I stay in charge of that. I'm not going to become an expert in insurance or in 401ks or whatever it is, the boring shit that I have to do because of my work, right? I'm not going to be an expert. I don't want to learn what you do. I do what I do, you do what you do. I just need you to explain to me like I'm 5 years old. And then I'll make a decision off that. And it needs to happen really quick because I don't want to spend time on that. So I think that for someone having to do that work, just keep in mind that you're the boss. You can choose who you want to work with. You can choose how you want to work with them, because the ones that like really just want to teach me how to be an insurance broker, I'm just going to stop responding or tell them I'm not interested. The ones that like see me and go, oh, I know this. They usually prefer that. They're like, okay, then those are the ones I want to work with, because they're going to make my life easy year after year. They're not going to send me a huge sales pitch. They're going to know what I want. They're going to send me exactly what I need to know when I need to know it. Yep, renew, done. And just simplifying. I think that would be my biggest takeaway, is just simplify everything that you find is boring, or find a professional that can do that for you, because there's no point in weighing yourself down with a bunch of stuff that you don't need to become an expert in. You should have an idea, but you don't need to be an expert in it.
So I think it's funny like how every single time I ask about the LBW, everybody always talks about the boring part and how it's not boring. And the reason why the LBW that was my dad saying we put in the book, but the reason why he said he puts the LBW with the boring is because it's not really boring work if it's like your career or whatever it is that you're truly passionate about. So I think it's cool. Every time I ask that question, everybody's, it's not even boring. What are you talking about the LBW? But
I
no,
love that they say
yeah,
that.
yeah. So I thought that was pretty cool. I get the same. Everybody has the same reaction every time. It's always, it's not boring. But normally, when they get to the boring part, they say it's the paperwork and all of that stuff that they don't like. But I thought that was pretty funny. And then I just have one more question for you.
Yeah.
And what's one fun fact about yourself that nobody really knows?
Uh, God, this is taking me off guard. I'm not really a fun fact. Oh, I don't know if I can claim this for my own or not. I'm very big into visioning or vision boards. You know what I'm talking about when I say those things,
Yeah.
right? I've only told this to a couple of people actually. But years ago, I used to take myself on vacation every January, because that was my time to actually like reset and also brainstorm of where I wanted my company to go. But I needed to be away from everything to go do that. So I usually go to Aruba. And this one year, I always had a journal. I was big into, I still am big into journaling. And in the journal, I wrote my goals. Like I want to see the name of my business spark on the side of the building. I want to have 10 full-time employees. I want to reach, at that time, it was like 1.2 million, whatever it was. And I just wrote, those at the time were big, hairy, audacious goals. Wasn't able near them. I wrote them down in a journal. I put it away. I have a million different journals. I come back to life, and I end up working. Completely forget about it. A year goes by. It's next January. I'm ready to go on the same trip back to Aruba. I'm packing my bag, packing my beach bag. I'm like, oh, there's the journal from last year. I'm on the plane. I'm going through it. I look at the journal. I'm like, oh, and I look at what I wrote down. And I'm going to tell you, every single one of those came true. The name of my company's on the side of a building. I had 10 employees. I had hit 1.5. And I didn't even remember writing that down. So that's just one. I couldn't believe like that was such a powerful thing. I never would have thought those would come true, and they did. And so fast forward to now, something else I've been working on is where I might want to move to as my kids are going to be leaving. I have a son in college. My daughter's going to be graduating high school. Where do I see myself in the next chapter of my life with being an empty nester, all those things? I started envisioning all these things and downloading pictures off the internet of like dream homes and places and blah, blah, blah. So I've been posting them like the last year, posting them. And actually, it just dawned on me that I actually am in the process of buying a dream home, which looks very much like these AI generated pictures on the water on Cape Cod. And I was like, oh my God, had I not been doing all of that visioning, not only with the boards, but with like meditation, I'm not sure that would have happened. So huge, just to me, that's huge. It's like magical. If you're really into it, it can change your life. It's great.
I just want to thank you again for coming on. I learned a lot, so I know the people listening and watching this that was learning a lot as well. So I want to thank you for that.
So. My pleasure. Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
me. This is awesome.
Appreciate that. And before we end, I want to thank everybody that has supported me in my journey of becoming the realistic CEO in the past year. So ways that you can support even more is by going onto my website at realisticceo.com and ordering your copy of the Realistic CEO book. See you in the next episode. Peace.